morning, viewers. Today we have Mr. Rahul Goyal, Managing Director, RLG Group. RLG Group is into chemicals, pharma and power business. Welcome, Mr. Goyal, to our show.
Thank you, Rakesh. It's nice meeting you again.
Thanks for your time. So, Rahul, can you share the story of your beginning of your group and how do you started?
I'm the Managing Director of RLG Group. The group was started by my father, Mr. R.L. Goyal. We started with manufacturing of plasticizers since 1978. Thereafter, we graduated into different other businesses of dyes intermediates, fine chemicals, and currently we are progressing into pharma business. In 2011, we started with a gas-based power plant in Uttarakhand. So primarily, the group is involved in pharma, fine chemicals, and power business.
So, Mr. Goyal, it's been 30 years now in the chemical business.
Yeah, family is into last 35, 40 years.
35, 40 years.
40 years. I am into business from last about 22, 23 years. Last 35 years, we would be about more than 10 times right now what we have right now. Currently, it's a privately held company. We are doing about 800 crore of turnover.
800 crore, that's fantastic. And what would be your CAGR like every year? How much you're growing up?
Last year was exceptional growth, but
Okay.
otherwise about 7 to 8% is our annual growth.
Okay. What was last year?
Last year the growth was more than 35%.
35%? That's awesome. What you did?
There were some international things in the market which led to an exceptional growth, and one of our product we make ethanol also.
Okay.
So the government had made it mandatory as a biofuel.
Yes, yes.
And we are the largest distiller in state of Gujarat. We make about we are the only private, and we make about more than 60% of the Gujarat state ethanol blending program.
Okay.
So that has increased the sale volume to a very high number. So we
you-
increased our capacity also, made it double,
Okay.
and so there was a growth in that.
Are you also into exports, Mr. Rahul?
Yes, our company has been dealing with export business since 1980.
Okay.
We are a star trading export house. We were manufacturing dyes intermediates which we were exporting it to Japan, Taiwan, US, Europe. And recently, last 2 years, we are exporting fine chemicals into Europe. We have an office in Amsterdam which looks into the marketing of our products which we manufacture into Europe. So we have storage and bulk storage facilities in Rotterdam port.
Oh, fantastic. So, how you started in exports?
In 1980s, the government had incentivized export.
Okay.
So the realization of the export were much better because of the duty drawbacks and other factors. So we started capturing export market a little bit more in our portfolio as compared to domestic market, where price was always a competition. And if you are making a quality product, you get a better price in the developed countries than in a developing, where the product is price sensitive.
Okay.
As we were into manufacturing of dye intermediates of higher quality, we started exporting to Japan to start with.
Okay.
And
Japan is a very quality conscious
There's a
market.
very quality conscious, and they believe in a long-term relationship.
So, what were the first few countries where you started exporting?
Started with Thailand, Taiwan, Japan,
Okay.
and they were the first few Asian countries where we started, and Germany.
Germany, you started with Germany.
Germany also.
Japan, Germany, toughest market
Toughest
to enter.
market to enter, and but there were two things which we relied on. One was quality and timely delivery. So these are the two criteria. If you are able to hold on to, the customer generally don't change for the pricing.
Okay.
Unlike in developing countries where the pricing is sensitive, there they honor their commitments if you have a quality and timely delivery.
So developed markets, buyers look for reliable suppliers.
They look for a reliable supplier.
Reliable. That's the main factor.
Main factor, because their products' seasonality was there a little bit, so they needed more of a timely delivery also.
Okay.
So because in dye intermediates, you make certain dyes which are good for blazers and winter clothing. Then so that has to come in July, August, so they can dye the fabric and send it for tailoring, and the product can roll out in December.
Okay.
So the product delivery was also important.
Okay. So the main differentiators would be timely delivery and consistent quality. What were the primary hurdles faced in the initial days of exporting when you started the export business?
I would narrate that even communication in those days were a challenge.
Okay.
I remember my father getting a fax machine from Japan, and so that even to establish a communication with the Japanese customer was an important issue, where you needed a prompt reply. Forget about the information data what we have right now. As the major challenge is what we faced is what is the correct price of our product.
Okay.
How we are competitive or expensive or less than the other players who are offering their material from other countries.
Okay.
So the information was the main challenge to put your product into the market at the right price.
Okay.
And to understand the demand and cycle of the market.
So Mr. Goyal, as you expanded from one country to another country, can you tell me what is the strategy behind that? What factors do you consider before getting into a new market?
The major idea was about the growth of the particular product in the country and the level of competition and the payment security mechanism.
Okay.
So if you are expanding into countries, you have to be sure about these three things. These were the major criteria we were weighing to expand into another territory.
Your business is so price sensitive, as you shared earlier, and pricing was a major criteria for you. So how do you ensure that you quote the right price to your buyer?
See, there is never a right price for the buyer. He always wants less and less.
Okay.
And what I feel is that there where the information comes into the play.
Okay.
So you have to always get the right information, which is not from the buyer. It has to be strategically derived from sources and where you can rely on.
Okay.
So you should have some services where you get this price.
Okay.
And there is word to mouth also survey, which our marketing people keep doing it and trying to check the market as what is the price around in the market. They talk to the people who are not even our customers.
Okay.
But they are customer to the competition to check whether what price. We will not offer them a lower price and see if that price is acceptable to the market.
Okay.
And secondly, you have to understand the customer business model also. If you are trying to overprice him, finally he is not able to sell his material.
Yes.
So you have to keep a market trend on what your customer is selling ahead.
Okay.
If there is a huge demand in the downstream product, then you get an opportunity to charge at a higher price from your customer also. But if he is not making money, then you have to also try to squeeze in your margin and sell the product.
Okay, so it's more of a win-win
situation.
Win-win philosophy, which wins.
Which wins.
Okay.
And
otherwise, it might not work for one of the
players. You can make money 1 month, but not every time.
Awesome. Good insights for our readers. Thank you so much.
Thank you.